Good evening. It's a little dark on the video, and that's because we have some of the lights turned off. And if I turn on the stage lights, then we get this really not fun hum. So we're just going to live with it. Welcome, everybody that's here in the room. Welcome, everybody on YouTube, Zoom, and Facebook. Tonight is our Christmas Eve candle lighting service. I am Reverend Rafe Ellis, and we're going to get started with a song by our musicians, A. Solin. Here we go.
Hey ho, nobody home, meat nor drink nor money have I none, yet will we be merry. Hey ho, nobody home, meat nor drink nor money have I none, yet will we be merry. Hey ho, nobody home. Soul cake, please goodness is a soul cake. An apple, pear, plum, a cherry, any good thing to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. God bless the master of this house and the mistress also, and all the little children that round your table grow, the cattle in your stable, the dog by your front door, and all that dwell within your gates. We wish you 10 times more. Soul cake, please goodness is a soul cake. An apple, a pear, a plum, a cherry, any good thing to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. Go down into the cellar, see what you can find. If the barrels are not empty, we hope you will be kind. We hope you will be kind with your apple and strawberry, for we'll come no more soulin' till this time next year. Soul cake, please goodness is a soul cake. An apple, a pear, a plum, a cherry, any good thing to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. The streets are very dirty, my shoes are very thin, I have a little pocket to put a penny in. If you haven't got a penny, a halfpenny will do. If you haven't got a halfpenny, then God bless you. Soul cake, please goodness is a soul cake. An apple, a pear, a plum, a cherry, any good thing to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all.
Thank you. And so we're going to open this evening, like we open most everything in these parts, with prayer. And so I'm going to ask our practitioner this evening, Deborah Ellis, to come open us with an opening spiritual mind treatment, also known as affirmative prayer.
Just turning within to that sacred and holy breath, that breath that is the breath of all of life. It is that spot of interconnectedness where the beloved is knowing itself exquisitely, in and through and as all that is seen and all that is unseen. So I welcome us to this time this evening, to this holy time, claiming and affirming that joy and peace, deep and abiding, are present right here in this very room and beyond. And so I bless this time together, knowing that it is joyful, uplifting, and in perfect divine order. And so I just anchor this now, knowing that all is well, regardless of any appearance. All is well. And so it is.
Said the night wind to the little lamb, do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb, do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite, with a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? Ringing to the sky, shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? A song, high above the trees, with a voice as big as the sea, with a voice as big as the sea. Said the shepherd boy to the mighty king, do you know what I know? In your palace for mighty king, do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Said the king to the people everywhere, listen to what I say. Pray for peace, people everywhere. Listen to what I say. The child, sleeping in the night will bring us goodness and light. He will bring us goodness and light.
Thank you, musicians. So, we're just a couple days past winter solstice. And even though the actual solstice happens in a fraction of a second, scientifically, it actually lasts 3 days. Now, I am not even going to pretend to understand the science of the solstice, but my research teaches me that the sun is literally, that we are tilted away from the sun for 3 days, not just a single phase, right? But during that moment of solstice, the northern hemisphere experiences the least amount of light. Simultaneously, on the South Pole, in the southern hemisphere, they are completely immersed in light. Now, why is that important? It may not be. I can't say that it is. But what caught my attention is the stark differences of experiences of the same moment. that on the North Pole, there's an absence of light. On the South Pole, there is a complete saturation of light in the exact same moment. And that perhaps there's something there for us to look at, that we can be experiencing the exact same moment completely differently than the person standing right next to us. Right next to us. That there is no one size fits all. And so this holiday time, we have, this year, Diwali, there's Kwanzaa that's coming up. We're in the Christmas holiday right now. Hanukkah came way earlier this year because the Jewish calendar is different than the Gregorian calendar, right? We've left everything up to continue to recognize it throughout the whole month. Everybody gets to celebrate the holiday however they choose. Honestly, it's almost amusing on some religious level that we celebrate the birth of Christ in alignment with the pagan holidays, because Christ was not born this time of year. He absolutely was not. There's still debate, but as best we can tell, it was sometime between the summer and September. But he absolutely was not born on December 24th. The holiday, the holy days, were moved to actually align with the pagan holidays, which is kind of amusing when we look at the whole history of religion, that we would, having a Christmas tree, pagan. Having lights on your Christmas tree, pagan. Yule log, pagan. Right? So it's all in there together. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that. I also think it's really important that we acknowledge what Jesus taught about himself, is that he was not the Christ. He was a Christed being. And that we are all Christed beings. That Christedness is consciousness. It is that embodiment of our Christ consciousness that lets us know who we are, what we are, that we are the divine in form, that the same power that created us lives, moves, and has its being in us. And that was always Jesus' message. It was never that he was here and the rest of us were here. That was never his message. That was the message about him, not from him. And I imagine, I don't have to imagine, I'm experiencing it with all of humanity. We are in a time that isn't so fun here on planet Earth. We've been in a time that's not so fun here on planet Earth for going on 2 years now, right? And I've been thinking about this in the context of Christ's birth and this woman that we know as Mary. And imagining this physical journey that she was on. Now, any woman that has ever given birth knows labor takes a while. Right? There's the contractions, there's the water breaking, and then there is labor that can go for days, literally. So I imagine Mary in labor looking for a place to simply deliver her child. And everywhere she goes, the doors are closed in her face. And I imagine the anxiety that she must have experienced in the human realm of, where's this going to happen? Because I can't stop the process. There's no off switch, right? And the closer she gets to delivery, the more anxiety I imagine she experienced, until finally there was a place. And it wasn't the Ritz. No. As the story goes, it was essentially a barn, and quite possibly an open barn. Right? And what comes to me is perhaps just like the birth of Christ consciousness in form, we have been in labor for almost 2 years. That in March of 2020, our collective consciousness water broke when COVID hit. And we have been in labor. Something is birthing itself. And every time we think the solution is here, it's not. And it continues. And every time we think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it feels like it's a train. Just another train. It's another variant. It's another, we thought this was going to be the answer, and it does mitigate some things, but you're still at risk happening. And so life is shifting and changing, and we've been in contraction and breathing and pushing for almost 2 years. And what comes to me on the glorious side of that is what is being birthed. What magnificent new expression of humanity, of consciousness is being birthed. Because as uncomfortable as it is to embrace and embody, if it's all God, if God is all there is, and if divine order is always life unfolding perfectly, then COVID in all of its forms and all of our diverse reactions and responses to it must be that. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a little hard for me sometimes to wrap my head around. Much as I imagine it was hard for Mary to wrap her head around being in labor, having all of the signs of ready to give birth and being repeatedly turned away. And so maybe we're not so far apart from the experience of birthing. And so tonight, I want to do our candle lighting ritual a little differently than we've done it in the past. We're going to do our inclusion candle lighting ritual here in just a minute to initiate the return of the light. But before we do that, I want to invite you to really go within. Go into all of the feelings of sadness, all of the feelings of darkness that you have been dancing with since March of 2020. Really allow yourself to own it, because we can't heal what we refuse to feel. Denial has no place in our spiritual path. It doesn't change anything. It just simply removes it from our ability to deal with. And understand, as you allow yourself to feel all of that darkness is not a thing unto itself. Darkness can't be a thing. And here's how we know that darkness can't be a thing. Is because you cannot bring darkness into a lit room and make it dark. darkness is the absence of something. It is not the presence of something. You can have a dark room that is absent, a room that is absent of light, and you can bring light into that dark space, and the darkness goes away because light illuminates. But there's no scenario where you can bring darkness into light and make the room dark. You have to eliminate the light. And so I invite you to own that those places of darkness are where we have forgotten the light. Those places of sadness is where we have lost track of spiritual truth and gotten stuck in the human emotions, the human experience. Don't make us bad and wrong, just makes us very human. And we get to remember, just like this time of year we're moving into the light. And so we get to initiate a process of relighting, of illuminating all of those places of darkness that we've been holding. Doesn't mean we won't feel them. Doesn't mean we won't go back there. But it does mean that we're putting into practice a thing that will come up in our memory that, oh yeah, I can shift back to the light. I can illuminate any darkness I feel at any moment simply by remembering the truth. There are those of us who have lost friends to COVID. There are those of us who have lost family members to things other than COVID. There are those of us who have recently lost people in our lives. Some as recent as 48 hours. Those places within our human experience hurt. They're supposed to. Grief is a very human thing. And I invite you to embrace that, to embody that, to acknowledge that that process, the whole process of grief, is because we love. If we didn't love, we wouldn't grieve the absence of a physical form. There are some folks in our Sierra community that are experiencing the first holiday without a family member. It can be a difficult time. There are people in our greater community that are absolutely experiencing that. We are, at best, civilly divided as a county. And I say at best because at our worst, we're uncivilly divided. And how do we wrap light and love in the midst of that? The only way I know to do it is to look past the behavior, to look past all of the ones who close the door in the face of delivery, in the face of a woman giving birth, all of the ones who close the door with whatever level of behavior, and know that they are not their behavior, that they are the same presence and power of Christ consciousness as I am, as you are. And we, see, when we do that, we hold people sacred and we love them, not their behavior. We love them, knowing that love awakens the consciousness that is fully present in them, because some people have forgotten who they are. Some of us have forgotten how magnificent we are. We have forgotten that we are a divine emanation, which means we are literally the divine in form. And we don't know that. And to expect someone to act like that when they don't know that is to have an unrealistic expectation. On the flip side of that, to not act like that when you do know the truth of it is inexcusable. To return hate for hate when you know better, not okay. Not okay. And so we love. We birth and we rebirth and we rebirth our Christ consciousness in every moment. We learn to live from our Christ consciousness so that no matter who we run into, no matter how they show up, we can meet them in a place of love, in a place of holiness, and hold them until they remember who they are. It's the challenge of a spiritual walk. And so as Deborah comes and we light the candles using our regular candle lighting ritual, we will pause when we get to the final candle so that we can each take a moment to release all of the darkness we've been carrying into the final light to illuminate that darkness. And we light these candles to celebrate the unity of all peoples, all faiths, all beings, all life on this very precious night. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for Taoism, honoring the path of ultimate reality, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the middle way and path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the teachings of Jesus as the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought teachings, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles of love and law. We light the 10th candle for absolute inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome and celebrated here. And then before we light this final candle, just bring your attention to that inner place. Allow yourself to see the darkness and to see it illuminated as we light this final candle, honoring the infinity of oneness as all creation, seen and unseen. Thank you, Deborah. And so we have brought light into the darkness. We have illuminated the darkness, if you will, which is all we ever really have to do. Now, if you've known me for more than 24 hours, you know that I am a Howard Thurman kind of minister. And so I want to invite you, before we each light a candle, to say yes to what is wanting to be birthed in you, to take this poem in from the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. I will light candles this Christmas. I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite all the sadness, candles of hope candles of hope where despair keeps watch, candles of courage for fears ever present, candles of peace for tempest-tossed days, candles of grace to ease heavy burdens, candles of love to inspire all my living, candles that will burn all year long. And so I'm going to ask the musicians to come, and we're going to actually, I'm going to go ahead and let them light their candles first so that they actually get to light one, because otherwise they're going to be busy while everybody else is there right over here. So you take a candle, light it off the infinity candle, and start to the back and place it forward. And as you light it, just hold in consciousness in your heart the yes for the next year, what wants to be birthed as you. So while the musicians are getting started, I'm going to invite everybody on Zoom to hold in consciousness what you are birthing, what your divine yes is. And I light this candle for all of the folks on Zoom. I invite all of you on YouTube to hold in consciousness your yes to what wants to be birthed in you. And I light this candle for everyone on YouTube. And for all you folks on Facebook, hold in your heart your divine yes for what wants to be birthed in you, as I light this candle for everyone on Facebook and their divine yes. And so as the musicians start playing, I invite everyone in the room, when you're ready, to come up, take a candle, light it, and place your candle.
I am alive, I am alive, I am light in this world. I am alive, I am alive, I am light in this world. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. And I holy night. All is calm, all is bright around yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight. Glory stream from heaven afar. Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face. With the dawn of redeeming grace, Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth.
And for Christmas, Juanita's learning new camera tricks. So, take this picture in. Really take it in. So that in those moments of forgetting, you have an image to recall, to remember, and return the lightness. Return the lightness. Return the lightness. And understand that Christ is a consciousness, and you can rebirth it over and over and over and over. So I want to make a couple of announcements. I'm not going to go through the whole announcement thing, but I do want to bring to our attention that here in this little pocket of the Northern Hemisphere, they are calling for some very interesting weather beginning sometime in the middle of the night. It's supposed to start around 3 o'clock in the morning. So if the snow that they're predicting happens, if it does in fact snow as low as 500 feet, we will have more than we anticipate, and Sacramento will be in shock. And I don't think it makes us bad to have a moment of, ha ha. But here's the thing. If it snows 6 or more inches, the likelihood that I can get down the hill from where I live in my truck, even with chains, not a promise. A sled I could get down really quickly. But I don't think my truck will make a really good sled. It doesn't steer very well. So that said, I will use every avenue available to communicate if Sunday service is not going to happen. If I still have electricity at home, I will do my best to hop on Zoom and live stream some sort of Sunday message from my house. But just keep your eyes and ears open. I'll send out a constant contact if I have electricity. If I have access to Facebook, I will post it there. Oftentimes I can post on Facebook when I can't do anything on my computer because my phone will let me access Facebook. But I can't necessarily access our constant contact to send out an email. I will contact KVMR and hopefully they will have power and they can announce it. But we don't know. There's a reason they call this white stuff up here Sierra cement, because it's heavy and it tends to bring trees and power lines down with it. So bottom line is, if there's any doubt at all about your safety, please stay home. Please stay home, because we can gather lots of times. It's not worth anybody risking their safety over. It just is not. So, yeah, keep your eyes open. Look out your window. That's the best weather report, is just look out your window. Okay. And we'll do the best we can. So there's that. So we are going to do an offering tonight. Tonight's offering is solely for our giving tree. I do not have the total right now, but here's what I can tell you. And thank you especially. I'm going to take a moment especially to thank our online community. I put it out there a couple days ago for my 39th recovery birthday and for my birthday today. And just within a 24-hour period from the folks who connect with me and with us online, donated almost $500 to the Giving Tree. So thank you. Thank you. All of that is matched, so that is almost another 1,000. So we're still working off. We still have some money left in our match fund. Let's use that up. Today when I got here, there were 2 envelopes on the front porch, totaling another contribution for our giving tree of $220. So that $220 instantly became $440. That's how the match program works. So we're doing it. And so everything collected this evening is going to the giving tree. So I invite you to take your gifts in hand, and let's say our giving affirmation, which you would think I would know by heart and probably do, but I do not trust myself. So I'm going to read it. I give this gift with love and joy. From a consciousness of abundance. Divine love blesses and prospers all that I have. All that I give. And all that I receive. And so it is. Deborah, would you please grab the basket and receive the gifts? Thank you. And while that's happening, we're going to sing, We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bring us a piggy pudding. Bring us a piggy pudding. Bring us a pretty pudding and a cup of good cheer. Good tidings we bring to you and your king. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. So bring it out here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And so, as we bring this evening to a close, we bring a new birth of the collective Christ consciousness to a new opening, to a new experience, to an expansion. I speak a word of gratitude for this gift that I know at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, for each member, each guest, each participant, for the divine as money in this basket that I hold, knowing that it sustains and grows this community to do great work in our community, in our greater community beyond the walls. And as we do, we participate in creating a world that will truly works for all. I speak a word for each individualized expression of humanity this evening. Speaking into realization the Christ consciousness that is the consciousness born in each and every one of us. I speak a word of peace for each one who is experiencing any challenges this evening, knowing that the divine is truly the comforter, that the divine consciousness within sparks a comfort that ignites a fire within, that purifies, that illuminates any darkness within each individual. That, as our mission states, we are contributing to the awakening of humanity to its magnificence. And so on this eve, the birth, where we celebrate the birth of consciousness into form, I celebrate the birth of consciousness in every magnificent, diverse expression of God, of Christ consciousness, knowing that the wholeness of the one life itself lives, moves, and has its being in each and every manifestation of itself. And so I call that into awareness. I call that into experience. And as I do, I know that everything unlike that is moved away. That light and more light illuminates every corner of darkness. Because that's how it works. I give thanks. I give thanks for the love, for the tenderness, for the wholeness of life itself, and the experience I get to have of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, life. And I invite you to join me to make this prayer your own, to make your divine yes anchored in truth, as we say together, and so it is. Have an